How many times have you given your power away today? Let that question sit with you for a moment. How many times today have you diminished yourself, made yourself smaller, or pushed your own dreams aside while desperately seeking approval from someone else? I see hands trembling in this room. I see eyes looking down, hearts recognizing a truth they've been running from. Because deep down, we all know. We know when we're living in the shadow of our own greatness, measuring our worth through the eyes of others. But today, right here, right now, that changes. Today, we're going to shatter the illusions that have kept you chasing, that have kept you begging, that have kept you believing you need to prove your worth to anyone but yourself. You see, there's a fundamental truth about human nature that most of us have forgotten. We weren't born questioning our value. We weren't born looking outside ourselves for validation. A baby doesn't wake up wondering if their laugh is too loud or their dream's too big. A child doesn't naturally doubt their right to exist exactly as they are. These are learned behaviors. And what's learned can be unlearned. I want to share something profound with you. Something that might shake the very foundation of how you've been living your life. The moment you chase something, whether it's love, success, recognition, or respect, you've already lost. Because in that very act of chasing, you're telling the universe, you're telling yourself that whatever you're pursuing is somehow better, somehow more valuable than you are. Think about that for a moment. Every time you've chased after someone's approval, every time you've begged for recognition, every time you've compromised your truth to fit someone else's expectations, you've been declaring to the world that you're not, that somehow you need external validation to complete you. But here's the liberating truth. You are not meant to chase. You are not meant to beg. You are meant to be so completely, unapologetically yourself that the right people, opportunities, and circumstances are naturally drawn to your authentic energy. I'll never forget working with a group of executives at a major corporation. These were highly successful individuals by society's standards. Corner offices, impressive titles, substantial salaries. Yet when we dug deeper, almost every single one of them was exhausted from chasing. Chasing promotions, chasing recognition, chasing a definition of success that wasn't even their own. One particular individual broke down in our session. I've achieved everything I was supposed to want, she said, but I feel empty inside. Why? Because she has spent decades chasing someone else's dream, begging for approval from people whose opinions shouldn't have mattered. This isn't just about career success. This pattern shows up in every area of our lives. In relationships, we chase after people who aren't ready to appreciate us, trying to prove we're worthy of their love. In social circles, we bend and twist ourselves into shapes that don't fit, hoping to be accepted. In our creative endeavors, we dilute our vision to match what we think others want to see. But today, we're going to explore a revolutionary way of being, a way of existing in this world where you no longer chase, where you no longer beg, where you become so centered in your own worth that you naturally attract what's meant for you. This isn't about becoming arrogant or unapproachable. It's about understanding a profound truth. The moment you realize your inherent worth, the moment you stop chasing and start being everything, the energy you've been expending in the pursuit of external validation can finally be channeled into becoming more of who you truly are. You see, there's a magnetic power in authenticity. When you're truly aligned with your own nature, when you're standing firmly in your truth, you become like a lighthouse. You don't chase ships. You simply shine your light. The right ships find their way to you. Consider for a moment what your life would look like if you stopped chasing. If you stopped sending desperate follow-up emails, if you stopped trying to convince people of your worth, if you stopped diluting your message to make it more palatable for others, what if, instead, you focused all that energy on becoming so excellent at what you do, so authentic in who you are, that the right opportunities and people couldn't help but be drawn to you? This isn't theoretical. This is practical, transformative truth. When you shift from chasing to being, from begging to becoming, you tap into a power that's been within you all along. It's the power that every great leader, every transformative artist, every genuine catalyst for change has accessed. But let me be clear, this journey isn't about becoming something you're not. It's about unbecoming everything you think you need to be for others. It's about stripping away the layers of societal conditioning that have convinced you that your worth is something to be earned rather than something inherent. In the next few hours, we're going to explore exactly how to make this shift. We'll delve into the practical steps of moving from a chasing mindset to a being mindset. We'll address the fears that keep you running after validation, the patterns that keep you begging for recognition, and the beliefs that have kept you playing small. This isn't just another motivational talk. This is an invitation to revolution, a personal revolution that will transform how you show up in the world. Because when you truly understand and embody the principle of never chasing, never begging, you don't just change your own life, you change the lives of everyone around you. You set a new standard, you show others what's possible. So take a deep breath. Let your shoulders drop. Feel your feet firmly planted on the ground, because right here, right now, we begin the journey of moving from chasing to being, from begging to becoming, from seeking validation to embodying value. Are you ready to discover what happens when you finally stop chasing and start being the prize they cannot have? Let me share something that might challenge everything you believe about success and fulfillment. Every morning, millions of people wake up and immediately begin their chase. They chase the clock, chase deadlines, chase relationships, chase dreams that may not even be their own. And in this endless pursuit, they miss the most fundamental truth of human existence. What you're chasing is already within you. The more desperately you chase something, the more it eludes you. It's like trying to catch your own shadow. The faster you run, the faster it runs away from you. This isn't just poetry. This is a fundamental law of human psychology and energy. When you chase, you're operating from a place of lack. You're telling yourself and the universe, I don't have enough. I am not enough. And here's the painful truth. As long as you're chasing, you'll never feel like you have enough, because chasing itself is an admission of insufficiency. But what if I told you there's another way? A way that doesn't require you to exhaust yourself in endless pursuit. A way that doesn't demand you compromise your dignity by begging for what you deserve. A way that allows you to stand in your power and let the right opportunities, relationships, and successes naturally gravitate toward you. This isn't about becoming passive. Far from it. This is about becoming so deeply engaged with your own growth, so completely invested in your own excellence, that you create an irresistible force field around you. Think about the sun for a moment. Does it chase the planets? Does it beg them to stay in orbit? No. The sun simply exists in its full power, and everything else naturally aligns with its energy. You see, we've been conditioned to believe that success is something we must chase, that love is something we must pursue, that recognition is something we must beg for. But these are all illusions, that powerful illusions that have kept humanity in chains for generations. The truth is, when you stop chasing and start being, something magical happens. You tap into a power that's been dormant within you. It's the power of authentic attraction rather than desperate pursuit. Let me break this down into practical terms. When you're constantly chasing, you're operating from your wounded self, the part of you that believes you're not enough. This wounded self sends out signals of desperation, and unfortunately, these signals often attract exactly what you don't want. People who will take advantage of your need for validation, opportunities that require you to compromise your values, and situations that further reinforce your belief in your own insufficiency. But when you shift into being mode, when you focus on becoming the prize, you operate from your empowered self. This self knows its worth. This self understands that true power lies not in the desperate pursuit of external validation, but in the quiet confidence of internal validation. Think about the most magnetic people you've ever met. Were they the ones desperately seeking attention? Were they the ones begging for recognition? No, they were the ones who seemed completely at peace with themselves. They were the ones who didn't need to prove anything to anyone. They were being rather than chasing. This shift from chasing to being isn't just about changing your behavior. It's about transforming your entire energy field. When you stop chasing, you start attracting. When you stop begging, you start commanding. Not through force or manipulation, but through the sheer power of your authentic presence. I want you to imagine for a moment what your life would look like if you never had to chase again. if you never had to send that desperate follow-up message, if you never had to compromise your values to fit in, if you never had to dim your light to make others comfortable? Imagine the energy you'd have available to invest in your own growth, your own excellence, your own authentic expression. This isn't just about professional success, so that's certainly part of it. This is about every aspect of your life. In relationships, when you stop chasing and start being, you attract partners who appreciate your worth rather than those who make you. In your career, when you stop begging for opportunities and start embodying excellence, the right doors naturally open. In your creative pursuits, when you stop chasing trends and start expressing your authentic vision, you create work that truly resonates. But here's the challenging part. This transformation requires courage. It requires the courage to stand still when everything in your conditioning is screaming at you to chase. It requires the courage to remain silent when your old patterns are urging you to beg. It requires the courage to trust that your authentic power is enough. Let me be clear, this isn't about becoming passive or detached. This is about becoming so deeply engaged with your own growth, so completely committed to your own excellence, that the very energy of your being becomes magnetic. Think about water for a moment. When you try to grab it, it slips through your fingers. But when you open your hands, it pools naturally in your palms. This is the paradox we're exploring today. The more you chase, the more elusive your goals become. But when you open yourself to receiving, when you focus on being rather than pursuing, you create a natural container for abundance. This shift requires a complete reimagining of how you view success, love, and fulfillment. It requires you to question everything you've been taught about achievement and worth. Most importantly, it requires you to develop an unshakable trust in your own inherent value. The universe doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to resonance. When you're constantly chasing, you're operating at the frequency of lack. But when you shift into being mode, when you become the prize, you operate at the frequency of abundance. And it's at this frequency that true transformation occurs. So how do we make this shift? How do we move from the exhausting pattern of chasing to the empowered state of being? It begins with a simple but profound decision. The decision to stop running, to stop seeking validation outside yourself. It begins with the commitment to become so completely, unapologetically yourself that the right opportunities, relationships, and successes are naturally drawn to your authentic energy. In this moment right here, right now, I want you to make that decision. Decide that from this day forward, you will no longer chase what's not meant for you. You will no longer beg for what's already yours by divine right. You will no longer compromise your worth for temporary validation. This is where true transformation begins. Not in the desperate pursuit of external validation, but in the quiet confidence of knowing your own worth. Not in the exhausting chase of what might be, but in the powerful embodiment of what already is. Are you ready to explore exactly how to make this shift? Are you ready to discover the practical tools and strategies that will help you move from chasing to being? Are you ready to become the prize they cannot have? Let me share with you something that might seem counterintuitive at first. The moment you truly stop chasing isn't when you've achieved everything you want. It's when you've understood that everything essential for your growth and fulfillment is already within you. Now, some of you might be thinking, that sounds wonderful in theory, but how do I actually live this way in a world that demands constant proof of worth? That's exactly what we're going to explore now, the practical path to becoming the prize. The first key lies in understanding the difference between purposeful action and desperate pursuit. When you're chasing, your actions come from a place of fear and lack. But when you're being the prize, your actions flow from a place of self-assured purpose. Let me make this concrete for you. Imagine you're seeking a promotion at work. The person who chases will send constant emails seeking validation, will try to please everyone, will work themselves to exhaustion trying to prove their worth. But the person who embodies being the prize, they focus on excellence in their current role. They develop their skills not to impress others, but because excellence is their standard. They contribute innovative ideas not to get attention, but because that's who they are. The difference in energy is palpable. One exhausts themselves trying to be seen. The other becomes impossible to ignore. Understanding the power of genuine self-investment. Most people spend their lives investing in how they appear to others. They invest in the right clothes, the right car, the right social connections. But being the prize means investing in your inner world first. This means dedicating time each day to your personal growth, not for anyone else's approval, but for your own evolution. It means reading books that expand your mind, not just the ones everyone's talking about. It means pursuing skills that light you up inside, even if they don't immediately translate to external success. The more you invest in your authentic self-development, the less you'll feel the need to chase external validation. Why? Because you'll be too busy becoming who you're meant to be to worry about proving yourself to others. Let's talk about something that might feel uncomfortable. The art of walking away. When you truly embody being the prize, you must be willing to walk away from situations, relationships, and opportunities that require you to diminish yourself. This isn't about being arrogant. It's about having healthy boundaries. Think about this. Every time you chase something that's not freely given, you're telling yourself a story about your worth. Every time you beg for recognition that's not freely offered, you're reinforcing a pattern of self-doubt. Breaking this pattern requires courage. The courage to stand in your worth even when it means standing alone. This brings us to another crucial aspect of being the prize, understanding the power of sacred silence. In a world that's constantly shouting for attention, there's remarkable power in knowing when to be still. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop justifying your worth, when you stop begging to be understood, that's when people start paying attention. The most powerful force in any negotiation is the ability to walk away. The most compelling presence in any room is the person who doesn't need to prove they belong there. The most magnetic energy is the one that's self-contained, not desperately seeking connection. But let me be clear about something. Being the prize doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean sitting back and waiting for life to come to you. It means engaging with life from a place of self-assured power rather than desperate need. This brings us to the concept of aligned action. When you're being the prize, you still take action. But your actions come from a place of inner certainty rather than outer validation. You pursue excellence, not to prove your worth, but because excellence is your natural state. You create not to gain approval, but because creation is your authentic expression. Think about how this might transform your relationships. Instead of chasing connection, you focus on becoming someone worth connecting with. Instead of begging for love, you become so full of self-love that you naturally attract those who resonate with you in your career. Instead of chasing opportunities, you become the opportunity. Instead of begging for recognition, you become so excellent at what you do that recognition becomes inevitable. This isn't about ego, it's about authentic alignment with. Start treating your time, energy, and presence as the precious resources they are. When you truly value yourself, you stop freely giving these resources to situations and people who don't honor them. This means being selective about where you invest your energy. It means saying no to opportunities that require you to compromise your values. It means stepping back from relationships that drain rather than nurture you. Most importantly, it means trusting that what's meant for you will not require you to chase it. Consider this fundamental shift in perspective. Instead of asking, how can I get them to value me? Ask yourself, do they have the capacity to recognize value when they see it? Instead of wondering, how can I prove my worth? Ask, am I investing my energy in spaces where my worth is already recognized? This shift changes everything. It moves you from a position of seeking validation to one of conscious discernment. It transforms you from someone who chases opportunities to someone who attracts. But here's the challenging part. This transformation requires consistency. It's not enough to embody these principles when things are going well. The real test comes when facing rejection, when dealing with setbacks, when it seems like everyone else is getting ahead through chasing and begging. Every time you refuse to chase what's not freely given, you strengthen your sense of self-worth. Every time you decline to beg for what should be freely offered, you reinforce your inherent value. Every time you walk away from something that requires you to diminish yourself, you move closer to what's truly meant for you. This is the path of authentic power. It's not about becoming something you're not. It's about fully embodying who you already are. It's not about proving your worth to others. It's about living from a place of unshakable self-worth. The world will test this resolve. There will be moments when chasing seems easier, when begging feels like the only option. In these moments, remember, you are not meant to chase. You are meant to be so completely, authentically yourself that the right opportunities, relationships, and successes are naturally drawn to your energy. Are you beginning to feel the power of this truth? Are you ready to explore even deeper aspects of this transformation? Because what we've discussed so far is just the foundation. There's so much more to uncover about becoming the prize they cannot have. One of the most powerful realizations you can have is this: the energy you've been using to chase external validation is the exact same energy you could be using to build an unshakable internal foundation. Think about that for a moment. Every ounce of energy you've spent pursuing approval from others could have been invested in becoming someone who no longer needs that approval. Let me share something profound with you. The world doesn't reward those who chase it. It rewards those who challenge it. Not through confrontation or arrogance, but through the quiet confidence of knowing exactly who they are and refusing to be anything less. Consider how much of your life you've spent trying to fit into spaces that were too small for your spirit. How many times have you edited your words, diminished your light, or swallowed your truth just to make others comfortable? How many times have you chased after people or opportunities that required you to become less than who you truly are? This is where the real transformation begins. It starts with a decision to stop making yourself small, a decision to stop chasing what isn't meant for you, a decision to become so rooted in your own worth that the idea of begging for recognition becomes as foreign as begging for air to breathe. But here's what makes this journey challenging. We live in a world that profits from your self-doubt. Think about it. Every advertisement, every social media platform, every quick fix solution is built on the premise that you're not enough as you are. They want you to chase. They need you to beg. Because as long as you're chasing, as long as you're begging, you're not truly living. The truth is, the moment you stop chasing external validation is the moment you start experiencing true freedom. Not the freedom that comes from others' approval, but the freedom that comes from no longer needing that approval. Let me share something that shake you to your core. Every time you chase something or someone, you're not just chasing them. You're running away from yourself. Every time you beg for recognition, you're not just seeking their approval. You're rejecting your own inherent worth. This is where we need to dig deeper. Being the prize isn't about becoming something new. It's about unbecoming everything that isn't truly you. It's about stripping away the layers of societal conditioning that have convinced you that your worth is something to be earned rather than something inherent. Think about water for a moment. Water doesn't chase anything. It doesn't beg to be accepted. It simply flows in its natural direction, and in doing so, it shapes mountains, creates valleys, and sustains life. That's the kind of power we're talking about. Not the power of force, but the power of being so true to your nature that you naturally shape the world around you. Here's a truth that might be hard to hear. If you're constantly chasing something, you're not running toward your destiny. You're running away from your power. Every time you beg for an opportunity, you're not showing humility. You're denying your inherent right to create opportunities. But let's make this practical. How do you actually embody being the prize in your daily life? It starts with small decisions. It starts with choosing self-respect over instant gratification. It starts with refusing to chase people who only want you when you're chasing them. It starts with declining opportunities that require you to compromise your values. Think about the last time you were truly in your power. Perhaps it was a moment when you were so absorbed in creating something meaningful that you forgot to check your phone. Maybe it was when you were so aligned with your purpose that you didn't need anyone's validation. That state of being, that's your natural state. Everything else is learned behavior. The world tries to convince us that we need to chase success, chase love, chase recognition. But here's the revolutionary truth. What if success is actually chasing you, but it can't catch you because you're too busy chasing something else? What if love is trying to find you, but it can't reach you? Because you're too busy begging for attention from those who don't truly see you. This isn't just philosophy, this is practical psychology. When you stop chasing, you start attracting. When you stop begging, you start commanding. Not through force or manipulation, but through the magnetic power of authentic self-alignment. Every great leader, every transformative artist, every genuine innovator reached their highest potential, not by chasing success, but by being so completely committed to their vision that success had no choice but to chase them. But here's the part that requires courage. Being the prize means being willing to walk alone for a while. It means being willing to sit with the discomfort of not being chosen rather than begging to be picked. It means being willing to face the silence of not chasing rather than filling it with a noise of desperation. Remember this, energy you use to chase could be used to create. The same energy you use to beg could be used to build. Every moment you spend pursuing what isn't freely given is a moment you could have spent developing what's already within you. This is where true power lies. Not in the desperate pursuit of external validation, but in the quiet confidence of internal certainty. Not in the exhausting chase of what might be, but in the powerful embodiment of what already is. When you truly stop chasing, when you genuinely stop begging, you become more approachable, not less, because authentic power doesn't repel, it attracts. True confidence doesn't intimidate. It inspires. Think about the people in your life who never chase, who never beg. Notice how others naturally gravitate toward them. Notice how opportunities seem to find them. That's not luck. That's the natural law of attraction at work. When you're no longer chasing, you become magnetic. But this magnetism isn't something you develop. It's something you uncover. It's already within you, buried beneath years of societal conditioning that taught you to chase, to pursue, to beg for what was already yours by divine right. Are you beginning to feel the shift? Are you starting to understand the power that lies in being rather than chasing? Because what we're discussing isn't just a strategy for success. It's a complete paradigm shift in how you show up in the world. And as we move toward our final segment, I want you to really sit with this question. What could your life become if you never chased again? Who could you be if you never begged for recognition again? What could you create if all the energy you've been using to pursue external validation was channeled into internal growth? As we draw this transformative journey to a close, I want you to feel the weight of this moment. Feel the power of the decision that lies before you. Because right now in this space, you stand at a crossroads between who you've been and who you're meant to become. Everything we've explored today, every insight, every truth, every revelation, leads to this crucial moment of choice. Will you continue to chase what isn't meant for you? Or will you become so magnificent that the right opportunities, relationships, and successes naturally flow into your life? Let me share one final truth with you. The world doesn't change when you chase it. The world changes when you change. When you shift your energy from pursuing to being, from begging to becoming, something miraculous happens. The very universe seems to reorganize itself around your newfound certainty. Think about the ocean for a moment. The ocean never chases the shore. It never begs the moon to create its tides. The ocean simply is, and in its being, it holds more power than all the forces trying to contain it. That's the kind of power that lies within you. Not the power of pursuit, but the power of presence. You see, we've been taught that success is something we must chase, that love is something we must pursue, that recognition is something we must beg for. But these are all illusions, powerful illusions that have kept humanity in chains for generations. The truth is both simpler and more profound. Your power lies not in the chase, but in the choice to stop running. Every moment you spend chasing what isn't freely given is a moment you could have spent creating what only you can bring to the world. Every ounce of energy you expend begging for recognition is energy you could have invested in becoming undeniable. This isn't about becoming passive. This isn't about sitting back and waiting for life to happen to you. This is about engaging with life from a place of power rather than destiny. It's about moving through the world with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their worth isn't up for negotiation. The same energy you've been using to chase external validation is the exact energy you could be using to build an internal empire. The same force you've been using to beg for acceptance is the force that could be creating your legacy. As you leave this space today, I want you to make a sacred commitment to yourself. Promise yourself that from this moment forward, you will no longer chase what isn't meant for you. Promise yourself that you will no longer beg for what should be freely given. Promise yourself that you will become so completely, unapologetically yourself that the right people and opportunities can't help but be drawn to your light. This commitment isn't about becoming something you're not. It's about unbecoming everything you think you need to be for others. It's about stripping away the layers of societal conditioning that have convinced you that your worth is something to be earned. And here's the beautiful paradox. The moment you truly stop chasing, you become unstoppable. The moment you stop begging for recognition, you become unforgettable. Because there's nothing more powerful than someone who knows their worth, nothing more magnetic than someone who's fully aligned with their truth. Think about who you could become if you channeled all the energy you've been using to chase approval into developing your gifts. Imagine what you could create if you invested all the time you've spent begging for recognition into mastering your craft. Consider what you could build if you redirected all the force you've used pursuing external validation. This is your moment of transformation. This is your opportunity to step into a new way of being. This is your chance to declare to the universe that you will no longer diminish yourself to fit into spaces too small for your spirit. Because the truth is, you were never meant to chase. You were never meant to beg. You were meant to be so completely, authentically yourself that the world has no choice but to recognize your value. You were meant to be the prize they cannot have. Not because you're unreachable, but because your worth is non-negotiable. As you step back into the world, carry this truth with you. Your power lies not in the pursuit of what's external, but in the embodiment of what's internal. Your magnificence isn't something to be proven, it's something to be lived. Your worth isn't something to be earned, it's something to be recognized. Let this be the day you stop chasing. Let this be the moment you stop begging. Let this be the time you finally fully step into your power and become who you were always meant to be. Because when you truly understand and embody this truth, when you become the prize they cannot have, you don't just change your life, you change the lives of everyone around you. You set a new standard. You show others what's possible. You become living proof that there's another way to move through the world. The choice is yours now. Will you continue to chase what isn't meant for you? Or will you become so magnificent that the right opportunities, relationships, and successes naturally flow into your life? You are not meant to chase. You are not meant to beg. You are meant to be the prize the time is now. The power is yours. The transformation begins today. Thank you.